Hello lovely. Today we're talking about gold leaf and well, it's very cold here today in Shropshire. I'm in my cabin. You will hear the heater click on, which is under my desk, keeping my feet warm hopefully. But I had promised you this, so let's go into gold leaf and I'm going to start because then while it's drying it has to reach a tacky point. I can explain some more things. So what I do, this for instance, I'm going to put my my size in. It's a mince pie tray because I'm gluten free. When I get gluten free mince pies, I can't resist them, and I've had some already and we're only in middle of November. But anyway, so I cut these up. These are really useful. Sorry, a little noisy, and they're excellent. There are different options for the gluey element. You can use PVA, which is what I'm going to use today, because I have got some proper size, but I have just put this on Facebook Marketplace to sell because I don't use gold leaf now. I'll explain a bit more about that in a moment. So just give my glue a shake, and I've got my camera in front of me here because otherwise you'll be trying to look past my left hand at what I'm doing. So I think it's good that you have a good clear view. Gold leaf is particularly tricky and rather temperamental. Anyway, we won't hold that against it. Let's see if I can. I need some water. Reach down there. Get more water. First thing, clean hands. You don't want any hand cream or anything like that. What we're talking about today is imitation gold leaf. It's not the 22 carat stuff, which comes in tiny pieces. About a quarter of these would be imitation gold leaf, and yeah, that's like we're talking real proper 24 carat gold leaf. We're not using that. We are using metal leaf, which is imitation gold leaf, but it tarnishes if you've got greasy fingers, and all sorts of other things, which I will explain in a minute. And I haven't got a tissue here. The tissues are over the other side of the cabin. Tissue in my pocket. Right, I'm going to put some of this on because we want to get to the tacky stage, and then I can explain a bit more. So I'm going to, this is just a little offcut of wood. I've been looking for things that I could do gold leaf on, like mirrors or side tables. Well, I haven't got any pre-bought bits of furniture, or don't really have gold leaf in an old cottage like I'm going to be I am doing. So I was a bit stuck, so I'm having to make it up as I go along. So this is a little offcut of newel post. So this is from the upstairs of my cottage, a bramble cottage. So, and it's got a very handy little jaggedy bit that I can hold it with, and I'm going to put some on paper as well. So this is just watercolour paper that I'm using just for illustration purposes because it has a nice texture about it. Thing is with gold leaf is you have to play with it. You have to get the hang of how it works. So it's a bit of a temperamental medium. So I've put the glue on, and we have to wait now for this to get tacky. And the way you test if it's tacky is using your finger. Don't use one of these fingers that you're going to handle the gold leaf with. Use a spare finger, and that's not tacky yet. Let's move those to one side so I don't get gold leaf on them accidentally. So the gold leaf, I bought this on Etsy. I bought a couple of different brands because I used to use a lot in art. And there are slightly different qualities, slightly different thicknesses, but they come like this with a little fine tissue paper between them. And it's really thin, and you'll see in a minute just how fine and delicate it is. Don't be doing this around your pets because it will float off all over the place, so your pets don't want to inhale it. I found it was tricky doing it in the summer when I had the doors open of my cabin because I didn't want it to fly out into the garden because of a lot of birds coming in the garden and squirrels and things, and my cat. And also I don't want it to float into my tea as well. But also it doesn't like cold, damp. It will tarnish anyway unless you varnish it, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So when I was using it in art and I was out here in my cabin, although I had the heating on and everything, I would put it on, it all looked lovely, and then as soon as I painted on the varnish, tarnish straight away. It is temperamental, you need to practice and play with it, but it likes consistency. So this is the good stuff. This is the proper metal leaf size for using indoors, and I can't remember exactly how much this was, probably about 20 quid for a litre bottle, and I had to get it from a specialist supplier. I don't think I got it on Amazon. I don't think I could get it on Amazon, but I say this is currently on my Facebook marketplace, but if it's still available and you want it, shout up, I can send you the link to get it. I can't post it, you can't post, I'm not licensed to post these things, so you've got to be able to collect it from me, but you'll probably be able to get something on Amazon. But experiment. PVA glue is quite possibly good enough for what we're doing. If we're doing micro things, it doesn't really matter too much. And I'll come back to something I was going to say in a minute, but let's get this glue checked out because I don't want it to go over. I think it's going to go over on the paper, so we might have to do a second bit on the paper. And I've just used the wrong finger to test the glue, haven't I? Never mind. So we'll take off the tissue paper. You can't be too precious about this. It will go everywhere, but we'll try put it on here first. Yeah. And once it's stuck, it's stuck. Don't try and lift it off. You're wasting your time. It's not worth the stress. So I tend to just lay it down, and you can tear it off a bit. If you try and reposition it, it will quite probably tear. But if you lay it down and then pat it down with a soft brush, can't remember if I glued all the way around, but we'll soon find out, because if I haven't glued, it won't stick. And we'll tear that bit off there. This is where if you've got glue on your fingers already from testing the glue, you'll have gold leaf all over your fingers, and that caught onto the paper before I was quite ready. So let's see if I can do a bit of patching. So you can tear it, put down another bit, which can make some interesting patterns and shapes. Can I see any more glue on there? I think I might be able to. Let's just play. Often what we do is underpaint, because there will be tiny tears in the gold leaf. Just accept that, it's going to happen. So what you can do first is you, whether or not you prime your let's say you were doing a table, whether or not you prime your table first or not, that's up to you. But then maybe paint it in, you could do red. Red is a traditional colour, but you could do it in something that is the theme of the room that it's in or whatever. And so then if there are breaks, you get this little tiny hint of colour coming through, which can be really lovely, rather than say the white or the bare wood. If you want white or bare wood, then go for that. But so now you just have to leave it for a little while. So I've used a soft brush to just smooth that on. You can use your finger, but if your fingers are sweaty or sticky at all, it's going to tarnish all the quicker, and you just end up covered in this stuff. Believe me, it just flies around everywhere, and we're not even got to the brushing off bit. So when you're smoothing it, this is called burnishing. And you have to be quite delicate and patient, but then you have to be patient while you're waiting for it to dry. And I've no idea how it's going to come out on this rough little bit of wood. We'll see. Can you see there's quite a sort of a woody texture? I'd really like to do some projects with gold leaf, but I can't think what I could do for my own houses. I might, if I realise what it is that people would like, I could make some and sell it on my Etsy store. Don't know. We'll see. But that's not my priority at the moment. That doesn't really light me up. I'm sort of a bit fed up of gold leaf because it's given me a lot of headaches over the last few years. So this is, can you see, it's sort of fine sheets with tissue in between, and you'll lift up the tissue paper and you'll find that the sheet of gold leaf underneath quite possibly is damaged already. It might have a corner knocked out or something. Oh, that one I can see. So the next one, so I can't even get to it. The next one, there's a corner. There we go. A little corner's already come out. And what I used to do, and then I decided to just have a clear out, I would keep all the little tiny trimmings, and we call them rubbings. Just going to put those away, put them back into their little packet. And if I find my paintbrush here, which I just plopped into some water, so go back to some glue, and of course this is lovely for doing picture frames and little details with. So on paper it doesn't matter so much if it's too gooey, but you do want to let it get tacky. You can just sort of make a whole heap of a mess of the gold leaf if you're a bit premature. Oh, that's the other thing. If you've got a windy day, expect it to get everywhere. You'll have it in your hair and on all your clothes. That's why I'm wearing my scruffy clothes today, my gardening and painting clothes, because they will go in the wash afterwards. I don't want to carry this stuff around the house with me. Sounds like I don't like gold leaf very much, doesn't it? We have a bit of a love-hate relationship these days. We've been through a lot together. So I'm just putting this on in bits and pieces, just to illustrate some points. Now you see that's come off. That wasn't glued on very well. Oop, see, bit premature there. And then if you get glue on your brush, you'll get gold leaf sticking to your brush. Patience is really the key with this. Absolute patience. Patience and calm. Be in a good mood before you start. Don't expect to do it in a hurry. You have to be very zen-like. And don't get stressed if it all goes differently from how you thought it might. That's okay. Right, so then I get a different brush, and you could use, so this brush I've got, this is actually an eyeshadow brush from a kit I had from years ago. So it's quite short, it's not as big as, let me show you. So this is one of the blending brushes that I've got for art. This isn't going to work very well, it's too long and floppy. You need something a little bit more rigid. This is a good brush, but it's not going to tear it because it's very soft. This might be useful depending on nooks and crannies that you need to get into. If you were doing something shaped like a table leg, you'd need to be getting in to all the nooks and crannies, patting all the gold leaf in, and you'd probably find you need, if you want a really smooth coating of gold leaf, you might need to do a couple of layers to cover in all the gaps. But I'm going to use this to, because I put glue on all of it, it's not going to rub away quite the same, but then we sort of rub away. And if it has dried thoroughly, let's try this one, because this is quite a long. I would recommend, if you've got little people in the house, that you do this on your own initially, get the hang of what you're doing. Then if you want to invite little people to assist you, do that at your own peril. You really don't want them eating this metal leaf and having it in their hair and stuff. See, that hasn't stuck on terribly well. So if I wanted this to cover completely, I think I'd have to go over again. It's all dry, but a lot of it has covered. Oh, this one I did, didn't I? Oh. Bristle hair from a brush. Yeah, if you sneeze, it'll be everywhere. It wants to stick down a bit more somehow. So this, I just did an outline of a heart. don't know why that bit in the middle is sticking, because I didn't put any glue there. There we go. I wasn't rubbing it off quite where the shape is. So you can see some bits have stuck better than others. And this bit I just did some sploshes. I'll leave that for a little bit longer. So that hasn't taken terribly well. Maybe I didn't put enough glue on. Maybe I need to go over again. Bearing in mind that this is unprimed wood. Oh, actually there might be a bit of varnish on there, wood stain. So yeah, maybe that needed a bit more glue on it, PVA. And again, how the size would have worked on this compared to the PVA, I don't know, because I've only used really I've used gold leaf on canvas that's had acrylic on it, so I know how it sticks on there, but everything else really is an experiment. This, I actually really quite like that texture. Now you can paint over the top of this if you wanted to paint some detail on it, but be mindful that anything with water is going to tarnish it. So if you're using any sort of watery paint, it tarnish. But then, you know, that can give it a sort of an older look. It's not unpleasant. It's just, if that's what you're going for, or that's what you're okay with, then that's fine. Just if you want it to be blingy gold, you might be a bit disappointed, and of course over time it will tarnish. Let's just move these little bits, see if this will come off a bit more. I'm going to put these straight in my bin because I don't want to save them. So that's how it's come out on the heart that I'd painted with glue. That was general painting area that I did on paper. This is some random splodges on there that hasn't come off terribly well, but I can see where it hasn't stuck or where there isn't glue underneath. So then you just get your brush and lift it. I'm quite interested to try on some small pieces to see how it would come out, doll's house size, and I might do that. But you know, I either have to make or buy the bit first to do it, and hasn't been my priority so far. I've just been making my townhouse so that it's made and it can be in the house, in my big house, which is only tiny. I live in a very small house, ready for a winter project, so then I can do all the internal and the furnishings and the decorating and stuff inside where it's a bit warmer and drier, because it can get quite chilly out here in the winter. And I'm mindful that I'm heating up this cabin space and I could have the house warm and cosy inside. So that, you can see it's really quite blingy. Now you can go over this with varnish, or you can go over it with artist gloss medium, depending on what you've got. And I always say use what you've got. That's why I talk about using PVA, because most of us got PVA in the house, haven't we, if we're into miniaturing. Clean your brushes, remove the gold leaf before you wash them. You don't want this stuff going down your watercourses. Remember, this is metal. Can't remember the composition. Google will tell you, but it is a mixture of metals, but you don't want it going down the watercourses. But yeah, I'd love to see if you make anything, if you do anything with gold leaf. I'd love to see what you do, so please tag me and let's have a look at what you make and how it comes out and what was your successes as well as failures, because we learn through experimenting, we learn through playing. So when we can share our failures or not so successful, or that wasn't really quite what I had in mind, when we can share that with other people, then it's an opportunity to learn. Some of the processes for using 24 karat gold leaf, you know, like they use on picture frames and in regal palaces and stuff, there are various different, slightly different techniques, but it's pretty much the same. But I'm not going to be buying real gold leaf, because that really is an expensive project. Have fun with this, play, experiment, let me know how you get on. I'd love to see whatever it is that you create. And if there's something that you would like me to do a tutorial on, please shout up and I'll do my best, and talk to you very soon. Bye.